Alright, response video to Fred, conference report. So I made this response video to My Misery and Me, and it's just a pile of shit. I haven't watched the end yet. So I figure let's go back to the 10 mark, though, 10-minute, 30 mark, because he does say something here. It's just more of his, just, I mean, what are you going to say? He talks about how somebody's going to look ridiculous making stupid claims, and then he makes stupid claims to make himself look ridiculous. So, it's okay with me. So I didn't bother with notes, but I did just write a couple of things because he did mention them. So he's apparently big on this Damasio guy, so I did look up a TED Talk video, and I don't know how far into it I am. Antonio Damasio. Okay, so yeah, I'm 3/4 into the video, and he hasn't said a motherfucking thing yet, actually. Nothing challenging, nothing interesting whatsoever yet. So maybe there's still hope. But anyway, hardly inspiring. But anyway, confidence is a lack of dissidence. Yeah, that's it. That's it. See, so there's a part in here where he talks about confidence again. And somehow people are feeding off a feeling. No, it's just a byproduct. The feeling. The feeling's a byproduct. Okay, you have confidence when you don't have a conflict. The brain is a conflict resolving instrument. Do you disagree? Essentially its function is to weigh things, to find circumstances and try to figure out which is the best path to take, and to have reasons to choose one over the other, legitimate reasons, things that might have something to do with your welfare and your survival. And yeah, if there's no dissidence, then yeah, it feels good. Dissidence sucks. It sucks to be in a fog. It sucks to be, I don't know what to do. That's innately an unsettling feeling, because we are encouraged to resolve. We're encouraged to be decisive. We're encouraged to basically make a decision and then go with the decision. Run, don't run. A cheetah who goes 3 feet and then stops and says, I don't know if I really want to do this, and 3 feet and then stops, oh, I don't think I really want to chase him today. That wouldn't work, would it? No, it wouldn't. Yeah. So that's always the relevancy of taking things back to our origins, is because there's explanation in our origins. Durr. Okay, so I won't beat that to death, but whatever. Not that complicated. And I'm certainly not going to apologize for the fact that I don't have a bunch of dissidents over the question of evolution anymore. We are keeping slaves. Okay, yeah, so this is the joke where this is, he's complaining because the conversations often will go back to the subject of the function, or the value latent in the existence of the human being in the first place, especially when you start talking about the ego and the mechanisms that drive us and the hungers that drive us and the completely erroneous element to those gratifications. It doesn't really matter whether you're watching football or baseball. It's the idea of watching football or baseball. It's that psychology. Which one you choose, like that should matter? No. Like there's some innate credibility in any of that shit? No. And the same thing goes for the mechanisms of our warring, whether you're a freedom fighter or a terrorist, all these distinctions that have no distinction. Yes, there's a lot to, through dissection it becomes quite obvious that these people have no credentials, no credibility as thinking devices whatsoever, because they're making preposterously silly distinctions. And so the argument I would make is that the reason why it comes back to this subject is because it's the biggest subject in the universe, as far as we know. Yeah, right. The function, the actual, is life running a profit? I mean, it seems like the first question you should answer decisively. It's like the most important question in the universe. I mean, the idea that you're traveling by car, let's say, and you don't know whether the brakes work on the car, or you haven't figured that out. You haven't done basic maintenance, and you're just going to say, well, we're driving and we're in the car, so there's no point in worrying about that shit. Well, no, I think it's probably the subject you should be on. Yeah, and so it's like if I'm sitting in somebody's house and the window's open and I can hear the whip of the slaves being whipped out in the field, and they start talking about their goldfish Fluffy and the fact that Fluffy has a bad fin. It's got a little ick on its fin. and they're doing all this little mishy-mushy talk about their stupid goldfish, and you're saying, well, what the fuck? You can't see the elephant in the room here, you fucking idiot? You're fucking whipping slaves and you want me to care about your fucking goldfish's fin? You're a fucking idiot. Yeah, sorry. Not even close to being on subject. Not even close to being relevant. Okay? You're a fool and an idiot and a silly person. That's what you are. You're a silly fucking person. Part of the silly Borg, the idiocracy that's running the world. So bravo, you are an idiocrate. Okay, maybe you should run for president of the idiocrates. You idiocrate.
My video, did I talk about consciousness and antinatalism? And yet, you talk about my...
Oh, whatever. He pointed, look, you're not playing his video, so you're not quoting him accurately, but what he did point out was, well, look, you're having this abstract conversation about consciousness completely out of the context of the function of consciousness, the place where it came from. It seems only sensible to talk about it in the context of where it came from, to decipher what the hell's going on and why we do think this, or why we do feel that, or why there is these things. And so, yeah, the fact that you've taken the conversation and extracted it from that origin, in most cases, he finds that to be dissatisfactory. And so do I.
My video, you talk about consciousness, and you immediately slide into a discussion of antinatalism, into a discussion that, well, consciousness is just part of the evolved repertoire of our existence, as if I've disagreed with that. And then there's no...
Yeah, well, as I pointed out in my video, there's two choices, okay? You either disagree with the origins, or you contrive some kind of bullshit that somehow we've added value, that somehow the human race has added value to consciousness. It's turned it into something super cool. And that's your argument, apparently. And so, yeah, I'll deal with that, because it's hilarious.
Point, and then we're off onto the antinatalist route, and the conversation becomes terminal at that point. There's nowhere to go with that. Because
well, says you. Yeah, there's nowhere to go with that but the most meaningful, significant subject in the universe. Yes, the most meaningful subject in the universe. You know, there's people going to the gambling casino, and maybe it'd be a good idea if those people were informed exactly what the hell's taking place here, which is that 90% of your resources will be extracted, okay, by these people, and they will live on yachts and laugh their asses off at you. Yeah.
you led us down that little rabbit hole of ill-informed antinatalists.
Okay, ill-informed anti-natalists. So, you know, again, these little shots. So, again, it's okay for me to call To Be Serious and Laura Layla, I can call them uninformed all I want. That's a legal insult, correct? So all I do is say ill-informed. I can just say ill-informed. Every one of you fuckers is ill-informed. You're all fucking preposterously ill-informed, and we just throw that slur without defending it with anything. You'll just say it from your fucking elitist position. Okay, I'm an elitist. I'm an authority. Trust me, I have a PhD in bibble-babble and foolery. Yeah, I'm actually a professional fool. A court gesture professional. That's right, they actually gave me a degree in that idiotic subject, and they actually let me fucking mentor young minds with my perversion and silliness. That's right, I put on silly ears, I strip naked, I fuck dead things, I do all kinds of crazy ass bullshit. Because yes, we're all here to entertain, correct? Entertain? Yeah, sorry, I didn't find any of that there. Oh, it's fucking horror film.
Groupthink.
Yeah, Borg think. You're the group think. I mean, your status quo defenses, just, you might as well just be, okay, we'll take the God out of God, okay, just like Professor Anton. Let's just take the God out of Godness, but let's believe everything else, that the creation is brilliant, that there is a function, that there is a purpose, that we're all super fucking goddamn cool, and we're so worth it. There's no doubt about it. We're so fucking worth it. Fuck you.
Which is a shame, because there are more interesting things to talk about.
Says you again, right? Okay, so you say there's more interesting subjects than whether or not the car we're in has brakes. Whether the car has any hope of getting us anywhere but off a fucking cliff. You think there's more interesting subjects. I don't think there's any subject that should be occupying more of our fucking interest than resolving that question. And the fact that you lame asses would sit there and fucking have kids and sit there and think you honorable and decent people when you're having them in a circumstance where you have absolutely no evidence that they have any hope of viability. That you have done anything but sentence them to some sort of horrific death, either by the medical industrial complex or by some kind of other catastrophe created by the fucking inept assery, the idiocracy you live by. The lies and nonsense you live by.
But just in relation to consciousness and evolution, first off, you say that as if I disagreed with the idea. And I would invite you to look at any video I've ever made, and you won't find me arguing that consciousness is some mysterious thing that emerged out of the ether.
Yeah, that wasn't anywhere close to his accusation, so that's just straw man bullshit. Okay, he never made that claim. What he's making the claim is simple, is that you're aggrandizing consciousness, you're taking it out of its context, out of its function, and you're pretending it's doing something new and interesting. And it's not.
In fact, I've got a whole separate channel which I built a couple of years ago, in which, I don't know how many videos, 20 or 30 videos I made, outlining some of the research into consciousness and evolution and thought and language. And that
could have left a link. What, Conference of the Birds? I mean, what channel is it? I mean, I'd be curious. I go back to some of your old videos and see just how wanky they get. And if Professor Anton's applauding, it's got to be pretty wanky.
That process. So yeah, I'm pretty well schooled in that, really.
Says you. I mean, I've made 3,000 or 4,000 videos on all kinds of channels, so I'm well schooled in all of that. Yeah. That's all I have to do. I don't have to actually argue the content in the videos. I'll just say I made them. Therefore, shit, I know what I'm talking about. I mean, come on.
So I don't know what...
But, you know, don't get me wrong. I'm not arguing that you haven't made videos relating our function to our origins. You have. But the point is that you've also made many videos where you project into the ether of embodiment and such.
Where you've got an idea from. But the idea, if you are interested in consciousness, the idea that you look to its origins, and once you discover its origins, there's nothing more to be said. I don't know why you would think that.
Well, because that's what built it. That's every nuance of it, every nook and cranny of it, everything about it, okay, except for the, details, like whether you can do algebra and geometry or not, is the same functionality that it had, hundreds of thousands of years ago. Well, tens of thousands anyway. And certainly it's related to mammalian consciousness, which we certainly can see all kinds of examples of in all kinds of animals that display all kinds of behavior similar to our own. And so, yes, there's a huge correlation between that origin and the purpose and function and what it caused to happen to the organisms and why it was developed and why it was retained as a function. Yeah, all of those questions are answered by looking at origin. And so I'd say it's a pretty significant context, like the most important context there could possibly be.
I can see why it might be depressing to find the origin of consciousness in a what you might see as a kind of bloodbath of animal history. I can see why that might be depressing, and it does depress me sometimes to think about the origins of where we are now.
Yeah, so we've got this legacy problem. Yeah, that's true, and I've often argued, I mean, the legacy is what it is, but yeah, you can't do much about fixing the past, right? You can't undo the bad legacy. You might be willing to concede that there's nothing we could ever do to compensate for the horrific experimentation that has taken place to create us, to have these magic moments where we watch American Idol and drool on ourselves. Yeah, to have those magic moments yeah, it's cost, 500 million years of sentient creatures being butchered. Yeah, that is a little depressing, I have to concede.
But, for me, it's rather like discovering that some fantastic cure for cancer was discovered in a concentration camp.
Okay, so there we go. So now we've got it pretty clear, right? We couldn't have a clearer statement. Okay, he's calling the new modern human a cure for cancer. Okay, so modern man, this man capable of, now drawing pictures of his penis on the wall, is now so spectacular, okay, that it's like a cure for cancer. Humans are so much better, so much more than the regular mammals eking out an existence, so much more than a tiger or a lions and bears kind of thing, so much more going on in their heads than a rat or a mouse. Yeah, there's so much more passion and reality to the human being that he's like a cure for cancer. The rest of the animal kingdom is cancer, and humanity, with his interesting thoughts, is the cure. Yeah, I wish I could go back in time and you could give me this theory when I was 10 years old, so I could laugh at it as hard as I laughed at the idea of Santa Claus over and over again. I mean, every year they're still playing it. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing this for? Let's just do the present thing and get this shit over with. Do we really have to have this canard, this laughable, silly pretense of Santa Claus or Jeebus or any of this other bullshit? Can't we just have present day? No, because we're humans and we have to lie through our teeth about everything because you're fucking idiots. And so yes, humans are a cure for cancer. American Idol is the cure for cancer. Yeah. Brilliant.
Has that kind of a... But nevertheless, that it doesn't work to just keep going back to that. The fact is, here we are, and this is what we've got to deal with right now.
Oh, yeah, right. So that's the answer. Ignore the origins, ignore the function. Okay, like brakes should work. Like you're going to the gambling house. Don't figure out whether the gambling house is going to steal all your money or not. Just do it because you're in line. So, yeah, we're in line. Just keep walking in line. Don't look. Don't figure out. Don't think. That's not what a brain is for. It's just for feeling. It's not for thinking. Yeah, fuck you.
The fact that consciousness arose from a humble evolutionary origins.
It's not humble. It's disgusting. And it's still disgusting. As you just open the newspaper and you'll see the disgusting. It's still the same disgusting, stupid, putrid game, okay, being played over and over and over and over and over again, and here you are glorifying it. You're calling it a humble beginning. No, it's a fucking self-interested molecule game. It's gladiator war, and nothing's changed. Don't keep pretending something has changed. What has changed? Where is these examples of human beings who aren't still obsessed with the same ego bullshit? Even the people doing good are usually doing good because it's getting them ego points. It's getting them laid. You probably became a vegetarian to get laid. Be honest. Because I don't think you really give a fuck.
Is an interesting fact, and certainly feeds into how research proceeds, but it doesn't stop there.
Well, I'm afraid it does stop there, and every bit of evidence demonstrates it stops there. We're just animals to be entertained. Now, yes, we can masturbate in really complex ways, right? People actually die doing it. They have a whole procedure. They fly to another country. They rub the golden orb. Then they get the 4 million kinds of equipment. Get some crazy glue. Get some rope. Get some whips. Get some bamboo dildos. Yeah, so they found really intricate ways to jerk off, and that's supposed to impress somebody because we can't do it the simple way, because we're doing it complicated, okay, because we're gaining our little ego gratification vicariously by putting on our little baseball cap and rooting for our home team, Okay, because we're doing it in this silly way instead of in the visceral way where we just go out and punch something in the fucking face or yell at it or whip our fucking dick at it or do something else, more direct. Because we've become incredibly indirect, we're still satisfying the same exact fucking hungers, the same exact needs. Nothing has changed. The same fucking mechanism of motivation is motivating people. So yeah, it is significant to look to the origins. That's the animal. The animal is basically a self-interested hunk of shit, as you demonstrate.
The analogy I would offer here is something like a study of New York City. New York City, if I'm right, I think, began in Manhattan Island, being bought from some Native Americans for pittance. Is that right? I don't know. I'm weak on the history. Manhattan Island began there, didn't it? Something like.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so that's, let's say, mankind 40,000, 50,000 years ago. Okay, is Manhattan Island owned by Indians? Oh yeah, that's how the real world was at that time. That's right. Yeah, okay. The Indians owned it.
So, do we...
Well, I guess it's more like 20,000, but whatever, it doesn't matter.
Think about, if you want to think about New York, if we want to study New York...
And the Indians were actually the ancestors of the Europeans, right? They were the Europeans who went north and then went across the land bridge and came down to North America. And then when the Europeans went across the ocean, they didn't even recognize their relatives. Yeah, they're descendants. They're ancestors, and they didn't recognize them as their ancestors. Because they were ignorant motherfuckers. Because they didn't understand evolution. Yeah, they didn't understand origins. See, it is kind of important, isn't it, jackass? Because if they understood all that, then maybe they would have behaved differently, right? Right. They showed up and said, hey, long time no see. What have you learned? We learned how to fucking domesticate animals and create all kinds of diseases, and we're all immune to the diseases, which is really kick-ass. And you're not immune, so yeah, you better start taking some vitamin pills because we're going to kill the fuck out of you. Yeah, they could have at least done that. But they couldn't do that because why? Oh, that's right, because they were ignorant, dumb, motherfucking cunt, selfish bitches. And they came over and basically just stole shit from other people. Oh, that's right, and that's worth it. That's a cure for cancer. Let's go across the ocean and just steal all their shit. Yeah, that's like a cure for cancer. Modern man kicks ass. No, he sucks ass. So do you. No doubt you have sucked ass.
If you want to understand how New York works, how the subway system works, how Times Square illumination works, how Broadway works.
Okay, so all these things about new modern New York, show me any of that in the human brain. We don't have X-ray vision. I don't have like beams of light coming out. I'm not an X-Man. I don't got super mutant powers. I can't fly. I can't smite. I can't do a motherfucking thing. I can't be Reptile Man. I can't be whatever. Blah, 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 read your mind, man. I can't be any of that shit. So where are my New York fucking city subways? Where's my lights and my electricity and my go stuff? Where's all my new fucking tools, cunthead? Oh, that's right, they don't fucking exist. I'm still the same fucking naked ape that I was 100,000 years ago, and all I can do that they can't do is add 2 + 2 and masturbate in incredibly eccentric ways. Fuck you, silly person. Why don't you talk about Santa Claus? Come on, tell me a Santa story. Come on, tell me a Santa story, Mr. Professor. Please tell me a Santa story about his special powers.
How Wall Street works. If you want to understand 9/11, if you want to understand Fresh Kill.
Yeah, go ahead, watch a movie. So go ahead and show me how human narratives have changed any. Go ahead, show me how we're still not doing Jedi Darth Vader bullshit. Show me where anything has changed, asshole. Show me how emotions in the human animal have fucking changed at all, shithead. Oh, that's right, you can't do that. Because it doesn't exist. We're still fucking apes, and all we have done is created nuclear clubs. And you're gonna fucking bash each other with them eventually as your just fucking goddamn dessert. You ass suckers.
Rubbish site. If you want to understand the Hudson River, then and the Staten Island Ferry. If we want to understand all these things.
Oh yeah, the Hudson River is such a modern, new Yorky kind of thing. That didn't exist when the Indians owned the land. Yeah, no, the Hudson River, the Europeans made that. Yeah.
We have to go back and look at that transaction between the Native Americans and the Dutch settlers.
Well, certainly you wouldn't look at one transaction, but certainly it is significant, little poignant pieces of evolution. So obviously there was a distinction in our evolution from the apes where we gained vocabulary, and that was a huge, big, giant, opened a whole big can of worms in terms of our, what went into our brain and how our brain processed. So yeah, it's a significant event. It's one event in this lineage of events. But the basic mechanism, again, we still understand that this is what it is. It's a tool-enabled bot. It's a machine in an evolutionary fight for a DNA molecule's existence. And that's what it has been, except in the last 200 or so years, where we now control procreation. And we now have stopped basically evolving in any constructive selected way. Nature's neither selecting nor is the human race selecting. So now we just have this muttery, this chaos selection. But we know what the game was 200 years ago, and 500 years ago, and 1,000 years ago, and 10,000 years ago, and 40,000 years ago. We know that it might be quite likely that human beings killed Cro-Magnon man. Yeah, Neanderthal.
If it was Dutch settlers, I don't know. I don't know actually. And that's the defining moment. And once we've got that, that's the correct position of our focus. You'd find that ridiculous, I hope.
Well, again, why would I find it ridiculous to understand our psychology? The basic mechanisms of our hunger and our desire and our ego have not changed this much. Okay, that the basic functional physical biology is the same. The mechanisms of dependency and attraction and repulsion are the same. And the only thing that's changed is the tools with which we actualize our gratification. We have new tools to gain gratification. I can watch screens with moving pictures. I can do lots of other vicarious ways of existing. But that's the only distinction. I don't have to go out in the physical world and chase down my dinner. I can bring it up on the phone.
You study New York as it is, because, as somebody famous said, it's a big mistake, but what are you going to do about it? It's here now. New York, here we are living in the cognitive equivalent of New York, with all of its fresh kills, with all of its subways, with all of its Wall Street and its 9/11s going on. This is where we are.
It doesn't matter. That's like saying if I lived in a society that was truly dominated by Christian faith, they wrote it into the law, and that's the way it was. I should just say, oh, okay, everybody's a Christian, so I guess I have to be a Christian. I would just acquiesce to it. I wouldn't say, no, that's completely fucktarded. It has nothing to do with reality. I wouldn't make these arguments. I wouldn't make these distinctions. I wouldn't claim that change is necessary. I wouldn't force the conversation back to the reality. That's the delusional nonsense, and if we're going to live for that, you're going to fail. Of course I would make that argument.
And that's a subject of study. It's a subject of study necessarily because it ain't going to go away. And it's a subject of...
Well, you say it's not going to go away. It's just so nonsensical. Everything the human race does, everything it demonstrates throughout history is that everything can go away. Anything can go away. Monarchy is gone. Okay, it's a practical fact. So don't be telling me it ain't going to go away. What goes away because people make it go away. And it doesn't go away if assholes like you keep saying Borg, 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 Borg. Yeah, then it doesn't go away.
Because it's interesting. And in many ways it's more interesting.
Well, whatever. In many ways it's more, I think soccer, I think football, European football is so much more interesting than European or Sweden curling. And I am just so fucking cool. And we have much better shirts than they have. And they just suck. And we're just so fucking cool. I mean, you're just a fucking sports fan. Okay, whacking off to your heroes.
In the origins, yes, some people do look at origins, and they should, and that's right. Some people should look at that moment when the Native Americans had that transaction with the Dutch settlers. They should look at that. Some people should look at the origins of consciousness in early mammals. But that's not the only game in town. And
well, again, you keep saying it's not the only game in town, and yes, it is. Okay, there are no X-Men. Okay, there are no superpowers. We are still the same fucking ape that we were 100,000 years ago. And all this babble about the fact that you're doing something incredibly new and interesting is just that. It's just babble. Okay, the fact that you're getting off. Okay, the fact that you eat food that's fancy and French. And all this bullshit doesn't change the fact that food is gratifying. And it doesn't make your food more gratifying than the fucking blueberries somebody was eating 100,000 years ago. Not one tiny goddamn bit. The sensations are the same. The gratification is the same. The only thing that's changed is that you have a preposterous motherfucking goddamn imbecilic ego problem. You're an idiocratite. And he was just a dumbass. You're an asshole, and he was an idiot. That's the difference. Asshole versus idiots.
The fact that you keep wanting to collapse every conversation into not just a discussion of our evolutionary origins in the mud and the slime and the blood of the past, but also, you know.
Well, it's just this, again, I'll just make my analogy and point out that all this frit and fuss about let's figure out why the goldfish has ick in the context of the circumstance, all right, it is just absolute bullshit. I mean, your priorities are upside down and perverted. They're perverse priorities, all right? And so for you to say that somebody who doesn't have perverse priorities and is viewing the image of what human beings should be working on, whether they should work on gaining their gratification or controlling their hunger. Yeah, and the logical person says, well, the origin is your need. So fix your need and the problem goes away. Duh, that isn't that complicated, right? It is right on the subject. You're saying, here's problem resolution. Do we take the high maintenance silly bitch and give her $500,000 a year to maintain her stupid existence, or do we transfer, or do we replace her with a sensible human that can be gratified on $20,000 a year? Gee, I don't know. What's the logic there? Should we waste $500,000 unnecessarily, or not? And you're telling somebody that, oh, this is something we shouldn't even consider. And no, let's just get all lost in the idiocracy of trying to solve the problem for this person who needs $500,000 a year to feel comfortable. Fuck you.
Just as an excuse to repeat the mantra of antinatalism, which is just boring. So, sorry.
Well, again, the most important subject. So it's a boring subject, again, that you have committed your children to play, a game where they will lose, and it's on you, asshole. And it's on you for not having the balls to sit there and give fair warning to other generations that, look, you ought to think before you step into this, because it has real substantial consequences, not little consequences. Real shit is on the line, and because we're reckless assholes, maybe you shouldn't be. But instead of doing that responsible thing, no, you just wuss out again, pretend that there isn't a fundamental issue here, pretend, well, and again, you think the human race is a cure for cancer, so what the fuck? I guess quite obviously your ego is so aggrandized, you are so preposterously full of yourself that you would torture 1 million people if you could to have Fred walk around and say, isn't it all so marvelous? Yeah, so we know your values. You suck. You're a torturing, motherfucking, sadistic, motherfucking, selfish cunt. Period. Obsessed with your own little genetic code and your own little ego bullshit. So yeah, that's my deconstruction of you. Okay? I mean, that's what we do around here on YouTube, right? We deconstruct people's personality. Well, that's my deconstruction of you, you psychotic fuck. Yeah, fuck you. Get what you deserve. Period. Asshole. Unfortunately, you can't get what you deserve, right? I mean, there's really no way that somebody can get the triple or quadruple or mega torture they deserve. I mean, they actually commit crimes where there's absolutely no way to give them what they deserve, because there's no way to force it into the funnel of their one consciousness. We can't torture them enough. Yeah, for them to get what they actually deserve. Fuck!